Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together we chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verses 1 to 10.
ॐ अथ दशमोऽध्यायः श्रीभगवानुवाच भूय एव महाबाहो शृणु मे परमं वचः यत्तेऽहं प्रीयमाणाय वक्ष्यामि हितकाम्यया न मे विदुः सुरगणाः प्रभवं न महर्षयः अहमादिर्हि देवानां महर्षीणां च सर्वशः यो मामजमनादिं च वेत्ति लोकमहेश्वरम् असम्मूढः समर्थ्येषु सर्वपापैः प्रमुच्यते बुद्धिर्ज्ञानमसम्मोहः क्षमा सत्यं दमः शमः सुखं दुःखं भवो भावः भयं चाभयमेव च अहिंसा समता तुष्टिः तपोदानं यशो यशः भवन्ति भावा भूतानां मत्त एव पृथग्विधाः महर्षयः सप्त पूर्वे चत्वारो मनवस्तथा मद्भावा मानसा जाताः येषां लोक इमाः प्रजाः एतां विभूतिं योगं च मम यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः सोऽविकम्पेन योगेन युज्यते नात्र संशयः अहं सर्वस्य प्रभवः मत्तः सर्वं प्रवर्तते इति मत्वा भजन्ते मां बुधा भावसमन्विताः मच्चित्ता मद्गतप्राणाः बोधयन्तः परस्परम् कथयन्तश्च मां नित्यम् तुष्यन्ति च रमन्ति च तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकम् ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते।
We have been studying the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and we have covered a few ideas. We covered the idea of what is an ideal student. that he should be a Mahabharat. Should be in good form, not like that he become. Most people think that once we can't do anything, we will study how to live life. It is a really, really funny phenomenon that there in this country. Once a person called me up. He said, I hear you take Bhagavad Gita. I said, yeah, I do. And he said, so what are the time and all that? And what are you charging and stuff like that, normal stuff. And then I said, sounded like an elderly gentleman. So I asked him, so are you interested, or the youngsters in your family? Who are you asking for? He sounded like, he said, he sounded like about 70, 75-year-old person. So I said, so is it for yourself? Were you planning to come? And he said, no, now I can't come. It's for my father. My father, 95-year-old, he can't do anything else. He can't even hear properly. So I thought I could just, make him go to the Gita class. Kya bolu? Yes, sir, this is the ultimate now. So it's a belief. Now you see Krishna himself tell us, please be in proper form. Because if you are not in proper form, how on earth are you going to apply yourself to such a serious subject? How are you going to do this? So you have to be a Mahabharat. You're capable of success, you're capable of doing, you're capable of action. In such a person, there's some slight hope, not much, slight hope that something will go in. Because this is one subject that unfortunately for human beings, very difficult to go in. So some slight hope. So that's why in the Upanishad they say, may my limbs wax strong. Nothing really to do with age, but are you in a good, what should I say, you're capable. You're not becoming incapable. You're still kartrutvavan. Kartrutvavan is capable of doing stuff. And then the other quality. So now, you feel like, oh, let's go and catch hold of all the high achievers and tell them about it. And all these people, Mr. Universe and Mr. World and all the high achievers, and catch hold of Bill Gates and what is his name? Mukesh Ambani. And let's tell them about it because Krishna himself said, you must be a Mahabhav. Chill. See his second quality. What is the second quality? Priyamanaya. You're Priyaman. Means you're delighted to be. Somebody is not muted and there's some kind of background.
Salil.
So, the second quality of a student is that they're delighted to hear. They find this very interesting, very intriguing. They're totally engrossed. You don't feel that, oh my God, I have to study such a difficult subject. It's like something that come what may, I'm going to get this thing. So two qualities of the student. Then we also had the quality of the teacher. What is a good teacher? A teacher is one who has no interest in teaching. Seriously not. Not interested in teaching. Not interested in anyone. There's no selfish intent. There is no unselfish intent. Then for what does the teacher teach? You can't even answer that question. Why do these self-realized souls tell us anything? Why? Why would they bother? They're completely happy. Haven't you heard people talk like this? Oh, abhi mujhe kuch karna nahi hai. I'm completely happy. So if these petty aira-gairas who say they're very happy and satisfied with life, they don't want to do anything. Here is a person who's achieved infinite happiness. Why does he do anything at all? Why did he take the trouble to give this message? Why did any great thing speak to us? He says, heat the Kamila. For your hit, out of compassion. Because of two things. One is, they have nothing to gain by us learning. And two, You can't learn it. That's what he said. Nobody knows my origin. You cannot learn this out of your intellect. You cannot feel it out of your mind. And you cannot perceive it with your senses. For he is the origin of it all. Remember what we had discussed even yesterday? Pure consciousness is getting filtered through the equipment. And then you're getting some end product. How will this end product understand pure consciousness? Can't be done. So he says, he who knows me as unborn, beginningless, supreme Lord of the world, means he who understands that he cannot understand. Very recently on the YouTube channel, that YouTube channel, people keep writing something. Very few people write anything particularly sensible. But yesterday, one girl wrote something quite sensible. She's saying, I'm sorry to say this, but it was some discussion, I don't know, Advaita or something, I don't know, Mahavakya or something. So he says, she's written over there. I'm sorry to say, I still don't get it. So that is the real philosopher who understands that he hasn't got it. 90% of the people, without getting it, are under the belief that they've understood. So he says, he who knows me as unborn, he who understands that the self, the final truth, the transcendental reality is not born. What does not born mean? It basically means it's changeless. Not born means changeless. The truth, the reality, cannot change in any way. Birth means coming into being. Death means changing into some other thing. Life is nothing but a series of births and deaths. You come into this class, you are born in the class. You leave the class at 11:30, the class is over, it is the death. So birth and death are actually nothing but a change of experience. All it is. You go somewhere, you're born there. You leave that place, you're dead there. It's just change. So unborn means was not born, will not die, which basically means change. I hope you understand what that means when you say changeless. Carefully understand what it means to be changed. No change of any kind. So he doesn't take a form and then give up that form, because that's a change. He doesn't do anything, because doing will require change. Changeless. He is beginningless. Beginningless. What is a beginning? Beginning is a concept of time. This class began at 10:30. The concept of time. How did time start? Time starts at the second experience. At the first experience, there's no time. Time begins at the second experience. Just as at a point, at any point, there is no distance. At a point, there's no distance. When is distance born? When a second point comes. So just as distance is born when the second point comes, time is born when the second experience comes. If you have only one experience, like you're in deep sleep, no, only one experience going on, the same one thing going on, you have no recognition of time. When do you have recognition of time? When that experience shifts. So time is something that is born at the second experience. You will notice, people who play cards, for instance. The whole night they are looking at 13 cards. Whole night could have gone. They don't feel any sense of time. Suppose you caught a flight early morning at 6 o'clock, went to Baroda. Then from Baroda, you caught another flight, you went to Delhi. Then you caught a flight in Delhi and went to Gangtok. From Gangtok, you went to Srinagar. And then you came back the next day. Now, if you did this in say 48 hours, won't you feel so much has happened? Oh, was it only yesterday that I left? You feel that time. Why do you feel the time? Because there is so many different experiences taking place. You feel that time. But it is the same thing going on. You know, in the academy, you do the schedule for 3 years, same schedule goes on. You really feel, in the beginning, you feel 3 or 4, my God, how can I manage 3 years? But at the end of 3 years, you feel what? 3 years have gone by, what happened? Because you feel the bulk of time and there are a lot of experiences. So what is time? Time is something that is born at the second experience. There is no time at the first experience. But Brahman, Atman, the self, God, whatever you call it, was already there at the first experience. And therefore, it is beginningless, it is before time. You will find this in almost every scripture that God is explained to be as beginningless. Beginningless means before time. He is the supreme Lord of the world. Why is he the supreme Lord of the world? Because without the enlivening principle, nothing can work. Imagine these massive factories and they're all going to go and all of it is going on so much. But that all of it is functioning on that electrical source. There is no electricity, all those machines are So is the electricity determining what will happen in the factory? No. The Lord does not determine what happens. The Lord merely enables anything that does happen. Just as electricity does not determine whether there is light or there is cool air or there is a class going on. Electricity doesn't determine that. What determines that?
The equipment.
The equipment. So electricity functioning through a light, through a bulb gives us light. Functioning through a washing machine washes our clothes. Functioning through a dishwasher washes our dishes. Functioning through, I don't know, any gadget will give that particular performance. Electricity is the lord of all electrical gadgets because no gadget will work without electricity. And what the gadget does is not dependent on electricity. These are the 2 points of comparison that must be understood by every serious student of theology, philosophy, Bhagavad Gita, whatever you consider yourself a student of. So God enables action, does not determine action. भगवान की मर्जी के बिना एक पत्ता नहीं हिलता. Right? Just as electricity बिना एक electrical gadget काम नहीं करती. So some people say everything that is done by God. And some people say you are completely mad if you have to do the work. God is not going to do the work. So you understand how both these things are true. Without God, nothing happens. But nothing happens until the equipment does something. In other words, what you have always learned, that matter plus spirit brings about creativity. Is that clear for everybody who is new in class today or anyone who is not new also? I hope this is clear, because this whole confusion about what God does and what God does not do is a very, very important concept in philosophy. God, like electricity, makes everything happen. God, like electricity, does not determine what happens. It should be clearly conceived, because then you can read any book on the surface of this earth and you will understand it. Such a person who understands me as unborn, beginningless, and the supreme Lord of the world, he is undeluded among mortals. Here is a wise person, undeluded among mortals. Asammudaha, mudaha, a foolish person. Sammudaha, a deluded person. वो अक्कल ही नहीं है. I mean, अक्कल डाल भी नहीं सकते. Sammudaha is deluded. Asammudaha, not a deluded person. You know, when you add a in Sanskrit, you make it the opposite. Like shoka, ashoka. So when you add a, it's opposite. So he is a wise person. Someone who understands the facts of life. And so you may say, तो मैं क्या करूं? Why should I understand all these facts of life? Okay, तुम रखो जो अपने facts है, God may be X or Y or Z, तो मैं क्या करूं? He says, if you were a wise person, if the facts of life were clear to you, you know what would happen? The end result is you will be liberated of all sins. What is liberation from sin? What is sin? Sin means any action that you perform which comes back and agitates you. Such an action is called sin. If you are agitated by what you have done, you have performed sin. So what is sin really? It is all our mental agitation. That's why they say, paap karoge to narak jaoge. Meaning, what is narak? A place where you are tortured. What tortures you? Your own mental agitation. No matter what state you go through, what experience you go through, if you're not mentally agitated, it is not a torture. Isn't it? It's not the physical state, it is what are you going through mentally that determines whether something is narak or not. The same thing is narak for one and is swarak for another. Isn't it? For you people, I think, at least I hope, Bhagavad Gita lectures, swarg. Some other people, you bring them to the class, they say, Bhagwan kahan mujhe leke aa gaye. Same thing for two different people, can be swarg or narak. Meaning what? These are just mental states. They are not physical locations. Whenever you get agitated, narak mein ho. Whenever you are happy, swarg mein ho. But what are these states of narak and swarg? They are the states of temporary agitations and temporary pleasures. So therefore, after you finish your time in swarg or you finish your time in narak, whichever one it is, you come back to normal. So that's why Vedanta does not want any swarg or narak. They want kaivalya mukti. Go straight, one direction, not coming back, coming back. We don't want the state of going and coming. We want to move progressively and get better and better. So he says, what is he saying? He's saying, if you understand the facts of life, you are a wise person. You will not be agitated. There is no narak for you. There is no agitation. I don't know if you remember. I don't know how many of you have been with us since that time. I think a very few. But he started his discourse in chapter 2 by saying, "Oh Arjuna, you speak words of wisdom." Excuse me, you talk all these big things. Because Arjuna spent 1 hour, 1 chapter chatting too much. The problem with people with problems is that they won't stop speaking. Therefore, they never get a solution because they're so full of their problem, kuch andar hi nahi jata. One chapter, our friend Arjuna was in that position. And how did the Lord start? He said, "Oh, Arjuna, you speak words of wisdom, but yet you sorrow for those that ought not to be sorrowed for." What do you understand by this? Wise people do not sorrow. Gatasuna gatasusha nanu sochanti panditaha. The gata agatasun, those who are coming and those who are going. Nanu sochanti panditaha, the panditaha. Who's a pandit? A pandit is one who's a panda. Panda means intellect. One who has a panda is a pandit. A person who is intellect based, a wise person, who does not sorrow. And same idea is repeating over here, that if you understood the facts of life, there would be no sorrow. There would be only joy. So you have to examine your condition, determine how much sorrow there is, and based on how much sorrow there is, you will determine that.
How lacking in wisdom we are.
Very good. How ignorant we are. How ignorant we are. Imagine a child finds some broken elephant on the beach. You know those tiny plastic elephants and camels and all these children play with. I don't know if they still play with them. But many years ago, they used to make these tiny, tiny little things. You all have seen them? Tiny, tiny. Yeah, camel and elephant and all, and these kids would all play with them. Okay. So let's say that this is Mukesh Ambani's daughter. One day went to the beach and she found this little elephant. That little elephant had one leg broken, but she was very thrilled with having found that broken elephant. So she brings it home and she doesn't let anyone touch it because it's my house. Okay. Then, little while later, she misplaces that elephant. Maybe some jhadu wala came and did jhadu and the elephant was gone because it's a small thing, no? Housekeeping services came and saw what broken elephant, they took it away. So now this daughter is heartbroken. So Mukesh Bhai and Neeta Ben go to her and say, "Why are you crying, beta? Why are you crying? We'll buy you a full elephant, a proper elephant with all his 4 legs and a live one. Don't cry, please, over that little elephant which you had got. We'll buy you 25 elephants if you want. Real live ones. We'll start a whole tabela for elephants if you want. Please don't cry over that broken elephant." He says, "No, I want that one." Now, where are they going to find that one? Can you imagine the sorrow of that child? How much she will cry, how much she will weep. She doesn't even know that her father can buy that entire factory where they make these elephants. She will cry, she will weep. She'll be miserable. Where is that misery coming from? Now, if you've been listening, then you know the answer, and just one word. Where is the misery coming from?
Ignorance.
Ignorance. Thank you, Aditi. Coming from ignorance. She doesn't know her own stature. You understand that, no? But when I'm crying, do I think that I'm crying because of my ignorance? What will I say? I'm crying because that person insulted me. How dare you talk to me like that? I'm crying because somebody passed away. How could God take him away from me? I'm crying because I'm in financial doldrums. Which of us will believe the truth? Those who believe the truth will find a way out of their ignorance. Okay, somebody has come down into the garden and is insisting on having a long conversation. So give me a second. Whenever we suffer, we do not attribute that suffering to
Our
Our
ignorance.
ignorance.
we do not attribute it to our ignorance. And the consequence of not attributing it to our ignorance is that
Agitation.
we never solve the problem. Yes, agitation. We never solve the problem because you're solving it in the wrong place. What do we do? Whatever it is that is bothering us, we try our best to change some external situation because we identify the problem as coming from there. When I have a fight with my husband and I go to my room and I start weeping, how did he treat me like that? How can he talk to me like that? I am his wife. I am so good to him. And I'm weeping and sobbing and saying, I want to leave him, but I cannot leave him. I would like to get a divorce, but I cannot get a divorce. And all the problems of the world have descended on my shoulders. What do I want to do? I want to change my husband. I want to change him physically, change him, have a different one, or at least change some characteristic about him. And why do I want to change that about my husband?
Because that is easier to do.
Because I have identified that that is the cause of the problem. It's not easy to change husbands, Naim. You have no idea. It's tough. You try changing your wife and see what happens. It's very, very tough. In fact, it's even tougher than changing yourself. Problem is not the ease. The problem is you have identified the cause wrongly. Oh, I've been suffering from all this pain, right, in my back. So one physiotherapist, and most of the pain is really in my leg. So one physiotherapist, she gave me some movement, and at least one of the pains just miraculously disappeared. It just disappeared. It was raw. It was horrible. And she said, okay, just do this. While I'm talking to her, she said, do this. I did it. And the pain went. What? This is a miracle. Moral of the story being,
She knew what to do.
you identify the cause. Once you've identified the cause properly, you will say, this is a miracle. But we won't identify the cause. You know that famous story that one fellow, his ship was not working. An expensive ship, and it wasn't working. So then he called a repair person. The repair person came. He looked around. Then he took his big hatauda and that tongue on it, on some part in the engine. So that the ship started moving. Beautiful, fantastic. So the guy was very pleased.
So he said, thank you very much. And the guy says, okay, fine. And he went off and then he sent a bill. He sent a bill of $1,000. So this chap got very irritated. He said, $1,000? Just ek hathoda aise mara. $1,000? I refuse to pay this bill. So then he sent it back. Then that man sent him another bill. This time it said, hitting the hammer, $1. Knowing where to hit the hammer, $999. Now, the reason he can do that is imagine what all he has done. So, once you're able to identify the cause properly, you're sorted. Please identify cause properly. You're so sorted, I can't tell you. So, therefore, when we are in pain, we have to repeat to ourselves, this is my ignorance, this is my ignorance, this is my ignorance. You will not understand a word of it. You will not believe a word of it. Never mind. Just repeat it. As a mantra, you repeat. I'm an ignorant person. I'm an ignorant person. Just a mantra only you repeat it. Because it's so tough. My husband is saying stupid and irritating things to me. I'm getting irritated. I am crying. I am never going to say to myself, this is my ignorance. I'm going to say, he's so stupid and he's so irritating. Usko akkal hi nahi hai. That's what I'm going to say. So, with whatever little intellect I have at that time, I should say, this is my ignorance, my ignorance, my ignorance. Kuch samajh mein aata nahi, bolte jao. Ek din samajh mein aa jayega. My God, this is my ignorance. This is so stupid of me. How could this have agitated me? How? Salil. Ignorance is bliss, not agitation, though it may be false bliss. That is also true. Ignorance is bliss because you are ignorant of the self. You have no agitation that you haven't found it yet. So yes, you're also true. That you're ignorant, that you don't know the cause, you're in bliss about it because you think you're a very intelligent person. So you're right, Salil. Salil is going to give up on me one day, I know that. You say every time she comes up with something. You okay, Salil? Yes, you're correct. Ignorance is bliss. But ignorance is a cause. You're blissful, not recognizing how much worse you're making everything. So ignorance is bliss means what? Suppose somebody has cancer, but they don't know they have cancer. So they are very happy with life. They are going around doing their things. It's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous.
Janki-ji, I have a
Yeah,
question. Isn't it a little tricky if you keep saying I'm ignorant, doesn't it kind of hammer in your head you're ignorant, or I have ignorance? What do we really say?
say whatever you want, but first you have to get into your head that only ignorance causes agitation, nothing else. Whatever works for you, you do. If you already understand it, then you don't need to do it. If you figured it out, how ignorance is the only cause of agitation, then you don't need to do it. But if you're not able to see it, then you do Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga means maar peet ke kuch kisi ko samjhana. Hatha means force. So you're forcing your mind. Mind is saying, my husband is irritating. And you are telling your mind, your ignorance is irritating. The mind is not willing to accept that. Why are you telling yourself that? Because the Lord said it, no? If you are wise, you will not be agitated. If you know the facts of life, you will not be agitated. He said it. Either you say, I don't believe the Lord, which you can say. Or if you say, I do believe the Lord, then please believe him. Decide which stance you want to take. You can't say, oh my God, I'm in big trouble. Now you help me. And then if he tells you anything, you say, I don't believe in you. Make up your mind. You believe in him or not believe in him. And if you believe in him, then take his advice. Yeah, Bharat, sorry.
No, sorry, I was just saying that spouse will happily say you're ignorant.
Yeah. That's why you get married, so that there's someone to remind you. That's why, Bharat, you have to buck up a bit now. Who's reminding you all the time that you're ignorant? See everybody else. You're all reminded daily. Kalyan Kumar, aren't you daily reminded what an ignorant person you are? Shilpa, aren't you daily reminded?
Yes, every moment.
See, please, our guru is in your house. Every time they will remind you, one way or the other. अभी तक ये वेदांता अंदर गया नहीं है. Oh, good.
Janki ji, your
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
In your-
Omkar, you're being well reminded, no?
In your example of the person having cancer not knowing, you said that was their ignorance was bliss. And now this person knows he has cancer and is totally shattered and devastated. That is knowledge bringing him sorrow. So this formula though has become ulta. Ignorance was bliss and knowledge brought him sorrow.
Yeah, because when you didn't know, when you knew where to hit the hatoda, you have to hit the hatoda, no? Thoda kaam to karna padega. Now say, I know, but मैं करना नहीं, करूँगा नहीं. That hitting is the sorrow. अब करो. Got it? When you gain knowledge, what is the sorrow of knowledge? That you have now found out what you have to do. What is the joy of knowledge? That if you actually do it, beda par.
Janki ji,
Yeah, one sec, Bharat. I can't believe that Omkar is not saying anything. It's never happened. So I'm waiting for him to say whatever he's going to. Omkar, are you okay in the first time?
I'm trying to think, Janki. I'm not sure if I got it.
Okay, so first, when you're ignorant, you're very blissful. So look what you have started now. When you're ignorant, you're very blissful in life. Okay, then you get knowledge. Okay, so you're ignorant that all my agitation is caused by me. You're ignorant about this. So you're very happy with yourself. All you can see is my wife, my husband, my child, my blah, 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 all these horrible people in the world. You see. So you're very happy with yourself because you don't see any problem with yourself and you're very happy with everybody else. This is our normal state. Then you get knowledge. Knowledge tells you there's nothing wrong with anybody else. There's something very wrong with us. Now, oh, so sad. It's all wrong with me. Okay. So wrong with me, when you realize, you know what is the biggest pleasure of knowing that there is something wrong with me?
You know you can do something about it.
Excellent, Aditi. Aditi is obviously somebody who is implementing this because she's figured this much out. That if something is wrong with you, I have very little control on what you do, and therefore my life is doomed. But if the cause is within me, it immediately gives me power over my life. I can now handle myself. This is totally within my power. So it is the most, what should I say? It is the most empowering idea that a human being can get. Let us say that I'm having some marital issue. And my marital issue is because my husband is a horrible fellow. Now I'm in a horrible state because he's a horrible person. What can I do? But if my marital issue is being caused by me, then I know I can get a good marriage. It is empowering because I do want a good marriage, right? I'm married because I want a good marriage. Otherwise, why would I be married? But when I realized that I could actually change something about myself and have a completely satisfying, contented life with this person, isn't that empowering? There is, of course, some sorrow because of kuch karna padega. But there's a basic joy, which is that you are now empowered. You are now the determiner of your life. You are no victim in your life. You are not the passive receiver of sorrow. You are the creator of joy. Okay, Omkar?
Yes, got it. Thank you so much.
Varsha, but he is now on the path. He doesn't need to be driven, Bharat. Varsha, Bharat goes off the path any day, he will live a happy life. If you go off the path any day, you will be reminded constantly. That's why we keep telling him, Bharat, what are you doing? Come on. We are all in this soup. Why should you not be in this soup? Not treating the cancer after knowing is unintelligent identification. Not treating the cancer after knowing is unintelligent identification. Priya,
Omkar's question.
what? Oh,
Omkar's question. Yeah.
okay, but the statement is only partially right. Not treating the cancer after knowing is unintelligent identification. So maybe a better way of formulating that is, when you have intelligent identification, you cannot identify where the problem is. When you have unintelligent identification, you don't have the power to change, having figured it out, because the mind's force is at the moment too much. So you're not able to change it. But what it basically, unintelligent identification means what intellect is not functioning. So when the intellect functions, you will be able to do it. So struggle with the intellect, you'll be able to do it. It's a question of time. It's almost like this: the car is going in at 60 miles in one direction. So even though you're applying brakes, it's not turning. How will it turn? You can't just do down and stop. Your car will topple. So first, you will slow down in the direction you're going. You just slow down the speed, and then eventually you will take a U-turn. But what's not letting you slow down is unintelligent identification. Your leg is still on the accelerator. Just pick that up. So not treating the cancer after knowing is unintelligent identification. Yes, sort of, but you will have to, when you start writing stuff down, you have to write it very, very carefully.
Yeah, as in identifying the sorrow with the sorrow or the suffering.
Yeah, wherever it has unintelligent identification. Okay, so who? Bharat. Bharat, you wanted to say something, and I think Namrata also wants to.
No, I'm good, Jankiji. Thank you.
Okay. Namrata, you wanted to say something?
No, I just inadvertently raised the hand.
No, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I hope verse 3 is clear. Salil, I didn't hear from you. You're okay? Salil. Actually give up. Poor fellow.
No, he's written something on the chat, Jankiji.
I feel knowledge causes agitation as well. Agitation to know the truth. Yes, of course. That's what we just discussed. Now there is a pleasure in knowledge. The pleasure is of becoming empowered. And there is an agitation in knowledge, which is the hard work involved. Ab corona come. Yeah, I am the cause. That you cannot say. That is why, to convert all this information into knowledge, into actual living, we're trying to do that 1 month course. But only people who have done VFC can attend it. We made that eligibility. You've not done VFC, then you can't do a 1 month course. Because whole 1 month will go in explaining basics. But nobody has told me. Somebody please tell me who all are interested in, or tell Bharat so that he can collate a list and let me know how many people are interested in 1 month. Yeah, online courses are there, of course. We're going to 1 month. I hope to do residential. It's so good to do residential. These are all my hopes, This is all the same that, oh, somebody will take the knowledge, they will improve their life with it. What more can we do so that they could improve their life with it? All futile hopes. But Zindagi Umeed pe Kayam hai. Whatever that is. So, okay, so now are we good with this? Everyone's good with up to verse 1 to 3 is clear. Oh, let's go forward. Anybody new in class today? Shivansh, is this your first class? How come your video is not on today?
I'm just doing a little work. That's why. Yeah, this is my first Gita class today.
But Shivansh, first thing you must learn about Gita is that you're doing your own brain surgery.
I am doing this thing. I'm feeding my pet. He's just not eating. That's why I'm like, I have to do this thing together. It's a time, and after 11, I have to go somewhere. So I had to be here in the class as well as I have to do this thing also. So I'm just trying to balance this thing out. But I'm focusing here more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I mean, it doesn't make any difference in my life, of course. I am speaking anyway.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when our intellect is focused 100%, we take in very little of this knowledge. If you have any distraction, even less. But no, the point is, it's not like I'm not trying to dictate how you should live your life. The point is that not multitasking is the most efficient thing to do.
I definitely understand that. I'm just a little helpless today. That's why this is happening.
Okay, fine. But at least the concept you must know that if you do multiple things, especially when one requires concentration, it's basically a waste of time. You wasted your own time. The concept must be clear. Now you, after concept is clear, you're like, whatever you want. That's why I tell everybody, put your things on. So I will see what you all are doing. Not because I need to see it, but because you yourself become more concentrated when it is on.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing when you're telling your staff, abhi sabzi ka gas band kar do, abhi pressure cooker band kar do. Kaun aaya hai wahan pe? All that if you're doing, I can see. Salil, do you have something to say?
Yeah, so this is in continuation of what I just mentioned in my chat, and something which I feel with myself. I mean, obviously, we are a prey to our old habits. I mean, when we listen to knowledge at that time, obviously we feel, yeah, that's the way to do it. But then out of habit, or unawareness, we do something. Obviously, with knowledge, it has come that when we do something wrong or get angry, for example, we realize sooner that, yeah, that was, we realize that moment, but then there's a feeling of guilt or that, so how to overcome that?
By being more careful next time. While your intellect came into action, after the action came in, you engaged the intellect, it became available after the action. So slowly, you will have to make the intellect available before the action. Okay, 4 types of intellect. The first type of intellect predicts. The second type of intellect acts. The third type of intellect solves. And the fourth type of intellect is Kumbhakarna. He never wakes up. The 4 types. So let's see. First one, predict. Predict means that before there is any situation, you have dealt with it. In other words, everybody knows that bad lifestyles will give you lifestyle ailments. We are all of us educated people. We all know this. So as soon as you know it, you have done your exercise, your nutrition, your sleep, your mental agitation, you've taken care of all this. Not because you have a problem, but because you understand what happens by not taking care of this. Okay, so the first type of person predicts. The second type acts. That means you begin to see something is happening. So you take some action. You say, acha, acha, now I'm feeling this or that. So you took some action right there as it began. Third one, solve. Now it has become a problem. Now you solve the problem. The doctor has told you better exercise. Therefore, your cholesterol figures have gone out of the roof. And so the doctor said, you better do all these things. So you do it now. And the fourth one, Mr. Kumbhakarna, cholesterol figures have gone out of the roof, but he will still not correct his lifestyle. So 4 types of intellect: predicts, acts, solves, sleeps. So now since you're at solving, I think, because you did it and then you're realizing that you've done it. So slowly you will do before. Okay,
Yeah,
like for
so
instance, you know that this person irritates me. You already know this. So you deal with this before that person comes in your vicinity. When the person comes in the vicinity, you run away because you know, I cannot handle this. So now you're acting. Third type is you got into the fight with him. And now you're thinking, maine kya kiya? Fourth type is, even after I fought, I still didn't get it, that I have to change something about what I do. Okay, so my suggestion is, if any suggestion is required, is if we are in category 4, come to 3. If you're in 3, come to 2. If you're in 2, come to 1.
yeah, but with me, it normally happens when my ego gets the better of the intellect. So if my pride is hurt or kind of thing, that really pushes my button, and then I don't have any control.
Okay, so that's a very good thing to know about yourself. Somebody else also had ego, no, that day. Ego ego means what? My pride. Pride, when you're using the term ego, is pride. Pride is an emotion. So we call it the mind, okay, in terms of our classification. So if somebody is saying something rude to you, then you must first know 2 things. This is a person who always says something rude to me, A. Or B, if anybody says anything rude to me, I get very upset. So like you said, somebody's pushing your buttons. Why is somebody determining your life? When you realize that I have to buck myself up so much that no matter how rude somebody is being to me, I do not react in such a way that my life is spoiled. And you will be empowered.
Yeah, no, I know that, but sometimes, just doesn't happen. I guess you have to practice. You have to.
Yeah, practice what? That is the question. Yes, you have to practice. So what is it you have to practice is the question.
Awareness, more awareness.
No, awareness is a output. What is it you have to do? Yes, Shilpa, what do you have to do?
Daily morning studies.
Morning study.
Morning study. See, I tell you, Shilpa knows. Morning study. Are you spending at least half an hour every single day just understanding the facts of life? It is your insurance. And the more you understand the facts of life, the less anybody else will say anything.
Will be able to push our button.
Yeah. Why should somebody else get the right to ruin my life? I will be happy. You don't tell me whether I should be happy or not. Uttara, you have just 30 seconds to say whatever you want.
Very small. Yeah, just very small. Basically, just like every human being is constitution made up of Satogun, Rajogun, and Tamas. Same way, can the individual be made up of all these 4 types of intellect?
Yes. Because depending on your intellect is basically depending on how strong your desire is, your mind won't let it function.
Okay, so we can have at different stages this different types of.
Yes, of course. Now take a doctor. Okay, he sees all that blood and all. He's a surgeon. all that cutting and blood and all the veins, all horrible things he sees. He's totally objective, right? He doesn't lose his head or anything. But let somebody else come in and he sees all that blood and everything, or body cut open and all, that person will fall faint. Okay, so the surgeon is very objective when it comes to his all that blood and cutting and all that. Then he goes home. Then his wife says, "Aap kitne gadhe ho?" All his objectivity is gone. So same person at different times may exhibit different traits. A wise person, a Vedantin, is one who is objective across the board.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you. I understood.
Okay, so that's it for today.